All right, now we have Caleb Preston here, and we're going to dive into now real estate notes. I know for a lot of people, I know for myself, let's talk for myself. I thought I understood the hierarchy of real estate as I was studying real estate. I saw wholesaling, I learned about rehabbing, I learned about renting, and lo and behold, I went to an event one day and I got there and the people were doing notes. And I was like, what are notes? I thought I had reached buy and hold, where it's like, long-term investment strategy. So can you kind of explain what mortgage notes are? And then in the next segment, we'll go into why mortgage notes is a good investment strategy. But can you just explain what they are?
Yes, you bet. So these are not sticky notes. These aren't like college textbook notes, right? So the term note refers to a promissory note, which you're actually more familiar with probably than you realize. If you own a home and you went to the bank to buy that property, if you use bank money, you actually have signed your name already on a note. If you financed a car, you signed your name on a note. Even credit cards and other things. Basically, those are all notes. Simply, it's a promise. It's a promise to pay. So basically, it's an IOU where it's like, Mark, you're going to give me money. I promise to pay you back. That's why we call it a promissory note. So it's a legal contract, and it can vary in size and scope. But in the world of real estate investing, it's going to be a promise to pay back money when you've borrowed money or you've lent money. That's going to be tied most often with the real estate as collateral. Now, collateral is simply that real estate is pledged to make good to pay back that note. So if something happens, let's say Mark's the investor and I'm borrowing from him and he lends me $100,000. I sign and say, Mark, I promise to pay you back $100,000 over the next 5 years. I'll pay a 9% interest rate. I'll pay $1,000 a month. I promise to pay you. Well, my promise is only so good, right? And so he's going to want collateral. So you say, look, Caleb, it's great, but I want to make sure that your property is pledging that promise. I trust you. You're a good guy, but give me something to back it up. So the way that you do that is you use what's called a security agreement, and that's typically going to be called a deed of trust, or it could be a mortgage. Some states it's also called a vendor lien, but most of the time it's going to be a deed of trust or a mortgage. What that does is it says, okay, there's this promissory note between Caleb and Mark. We're going to file at the local county courthouse. So it's on file, public record, a deed of trust or a mortgage saying, okay, Caleb borrowed $100,000 from Mark, and it's on public record, and this house over on Main Street is securing that pledge. So if Caleb does not pay back Mark, Mark has the legal right. He can go back to the same courthouse, file a notice of default, and he can actually prove to the judge that Caleb didn't pay him, and he can actually take that house on Main Street, take it back. That house is going to be sold to the courthouse steps, and whatever money comes from the sale of that property is going to first go to pay back Mark's note, any accrued interest he did not receive from Caleb, any legal fees, and then whatever's left over may come back to me or go back to Mark, depending on the state you're in. So that's a note. A note's going to have how much was borrowed, what's the interest rate, and what's the rent on that money, what's the term, so how long do I have to pay that back to you, what's the monthly payment, if at all, or there could be quarterly payments, there could be no payments, that's a variable, but am I going to pay you increments? Then is there a balloon payment, is there a lump sum due in the future? So those are the elements of a note. And then public records, so it's going to be publicly out there and you can find them online.
Man, I'm telling you, the gems you are dropping are just hitting the floor like tons. You know what I mean? So I'm just serious, man. It's so beautiful to be able to hear a clear explanation of elements and a clear context of where each element is in the process, you know? So thank you for explaining what a note is in real estate investing. And now we're going to talk about how notes are used to profit and are maybe sold, right? And used as investments in real estate. And we'll do that next.